we open wide the virtual stage where ideas spark and wisdom fills the page. From the UK to the land of maple trees, John and Mike bring clarity with ease. We're building meetings, webinars with might, helping you shine, your message taking flight. Whether you're new or you've done this before, Lord Zoom Live will help you do much more. We're building meetings, webinars with might, helping you shine, your message taking flight. Whether you're new or you've done this before, Lord Zoom Live will help you do much more. Thank you for joining us, we're glad you're here. Together we grow, it's loud and clear. On Zoom we connect, we learn, we grow. Welcome my friend, enjoy the show.
Hello, welcome to another Lord Zoom Live. I am Lord Zoom. I'm not a Zoomie. I'm not an employee of Zoom. I'm not a representative of Zoom. I'm just a really keen Zoom champion. So today, this world of AI is really just coming in from everywhere. So we thought we'd like to have a chat with a Zoomie about the AI that's in Zoom and the really useful stuff that he gets up to with Zoom agents. I don't mean spies. I mean, you know, those clever little bots that run around and do jobs for us. So I'd like to welcome I can't remember the count now, Mike, we've got so many, but our latest new Zoomie friend to join us on Lord Zoom Live is Sean Farrell. Sean, welcome.
Thank you for having me, John. Thank you for having me, Mike, as well. Appreciate you both.
You're a production. There's the next guest I want on this show is the person that writes all your titles, because you Zoomies always have really imaginative titles. It's never boring. You're a product adoption expert. Sounds like the technology version of a midwife. What does your day-to-day job involve?
I love that analogy, John. And yeah, no, I'd love to elaborate. So I work on our product adoption expert team here at Zoom. It's an arm of our scaled customer success organization. And, you know, I think of PAEs as Zoom's investment in the customer's ability to deepen their existing adoption of our products. And to be honest, the AI that we're constantly rolling out within those products, there is, and you talk about it on your show. And by the way, I'm a fan. I've been watching some of your catalog in your YouTube channel, and I've just love some of the content you've been putting out. Super informative. I feel like in some ways, you know about some Zoom products better than myself. So I feel like we both have a lot to learn from one another. But as you know, with all of Zoom's products, AI is at the forefront of the roadmap. And you know, the problem that the PAE role exists to solve is, while we're constantly increasing our AI feature set and use cases and workflows, we require a behavior change from customers. You know, they have new workflows, new admin configurations, new ways of thinking about customer experience or how they're going to coach their sales team. And all of those are areas that Zoom solves for, but getting customers to actually adopt them enough to drive value beyond just like time savings, it's a muscle that a lot of SaaS orgs are frankly weakest at. And I'll tell you, Zoom's doubled down on that by standing up our product adoption expert team. We work directly with customers, both on a one-to-one basis, as well as building out scalable programs like our webinar series. We have a customer success hub within the community where we have success stories that are written by myself and others who support various products. And the PAE is a specialist. So we go out and we're specialized in no more than one or two Zoom products. So our depth of knowledge for those one or two products goes really deep. And a lot of us have also sat in broader customer success roles at Zoom, where we have an understanding of some of the broader products across business services and workplace. But a really specific specialty in one or two products, which kind of excited to dig into a bit today. Long-winded answer for such a well put question you had.
Thank you very much. I suppose what we're really talking about here is a fundamental leveling up of AI. We've got lots of AI in Zoom for summaries and references, and we can even have an AI version of ourselves if we want. But this is using the knowledge that's been generated in Zoom and then using AI to process it at a much more constructive level than just creating a transcript. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah. It depends on which aspect of Zoom's AI. If you're for an AI companion, we have our own federated model to leveraging AI across Zoom meetings, for example, and being able to generate a lot more than a meeting summary, which I know is a lot of people's entry point with Zoom. So I specifically support two products: Zoom Virtual Agents, which is our AI agents tooling that allows you to embed agents within your contact center flows, your Zoom phone call queues, and even your web chats. And then Zoom Revenue Accelerator, which is specifically designed to enable go-to-market teams to close more deals faster by putting an additional layer of revenue-centric AI on top of their meetings that they're already having in Zoom. It also works with other third-party meeting platforms as well to provide all of the insights, automatically score and provide coaching to reps on how their sales pitches are going, and to enable sales leaders to find the insights about what kinds of conversations are taking place around, for example, their competitors in their conversations with prospects, and be able to understand what's the context of those. Like, where are we losing deals to competitor X, and how are we beating out competitor Y? Well, you can answer that through a various number of ways, but there's no better context than the actual conversation that's taking place. And that's one way Zoom will always win.
Okay, this sounds fascinating. Can't think we can ever get this in an hour, but let's take those three stages and work through maybe an example of each. So let's talk about Zoom Phone, not just as a thing for me, but Zoom Phone as a tool that I'm using across my organization. Have you got an example or two of where AI is really going to help us and make life better for telephone calls effectively?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, John, let me ask you a quick question just to kind of get maybe if for our audience who's not as familiar with kind of the world of phone and call queues. So if you call your local grocery store, supermarket right now, who answers the phone? Or maybe I should ask, like, what answers the phone? What do you expect to receive on the other line when you first dial that number?
Usually just get a random employee or a receptionist who will answer the phone.
Yeah, and exactly. So the receptionist will give you what? Like a call routing menu, essentially. Dial 1 for pharmacy, 2 for, right? So where Zoom Virtual Agents has really taken off more recently, last month I did a webinar on AI receptionists. And I remember, getting these questions from, as I was promoting the webinar, like, what do you mean AI receptionist? Like, what is that? What does that mean? Is that just a buzzword of AI slapped on top of, an already existing form of technology that we have with voice receptionists? And so the analogy I like to give is when it comes to Zoom Phone and how virtual agents can help support, is you're able to design an AI receptionist. This is kind of one of the most foundational, like, shortest time to value use cases. Like, if you were to start your journey with virtual agents today and you wanted to get something agentic stood up within your business, specifically in your customer facing realm, like, this is where you would start. Think about your receptionist. And voice receptionists have been around for a long time. They use rules-based logic. to perform call routing, super simplistic, dial 9 for bakery. And a lot of the historical like pitch there was, well, it's better deflection and it provides cost savings. And that has always been the case since voice agents were first birthed. And then AI receptionists came along, and it's like, I've seen in, at least in the market of them, the pitch is frankly, it can be a little lazy. It's like, hey, how about more deflection and more cost savings, which is great, but it's like, is that what's driving the value for me to invest all this time into migrating and standing up my voice receptionist into an AI receptionist? Well, fair enough. And so the point I made in the webinar last month, and the point I always like to make to customers is, I think the value is in the analytics. So for example, regular receptionist, last month, 200 people called your receptionist and they dialed 9 for the bakery. Great. Okay. We know most of our call volume goes to the bakery. And that's the extent of what you know. It's extremely surface level. There's only so much you can do to improve your customer experience with that knowledge. But what if I told you that 200 people called your receptionist, they wanted to route to the bakery, and 65% of them were looking for a color of icing that for cakes that you don't currently offer? How would you know that, right? Like, how many dials would they have to do to zero in on that information? Well, that's why conversational AI receptionists are powerful, because people can call in and say, well, do you have green icing? And you can empower your AI receptionist to know every color of icing that you offer, and then also collect analytics on what's being captured that you don't offer today, and actually do something about it to improve your customer experience. So that's where I think, when you mentioned Zoom Phone earlier, where I see things like virtual agents taking things a step further and providing more value beyond just deflection and cost savings.
Okay. So what we're talking about really, which is, I suppose for some people who are not into AI, sounds a bit scary, but what you're effectively doing is you're saying, we're going to put an AI as the first person that answers your phone. It's going to talk in a voice which is really good, that most people are not going to realize it's an AI. And frankly, if it gives good service, people won't worry if it's an AI. And we're going to feed it information about our business so that when it takes the call, it's got knowledge of our business. And therefore, it has knowledge that allows it to answer simple questions and put people in the right direction if the question is more complicated. That's what we're actually saying, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just the start. I mean, you can take this thing a lot further, and I can go down that rabbit hole if you want, but there's a lot of ways to go just beyond dial 9 for this department and, being able to answer FAQs. But for the sake of time, I will leave that door open if you want to go down that route, or we can go a different direction.
We can go a bit more deeper when we go to the next level. So we had Elliot here last week, and we were talking about the principle of routing. So actually, we were talking about the stage before this process in Zoom Phone. We were talking about how you can route calls and how the calls work around your organization and how all your virtual phones connect and how they all work together. And we had great fun working on that. This is like building the next level up. This is like giving a AI some information out the business. And now the AI will now help us with all that call routing, and that will process all the calls. But of course, you say that it can do more than that, because we can teach it more. So I think the place where most people are going to think about teaching it more is if we then take it into the world of a Zoom contact center. Now, for those people that don't know Zoom contact center, my non-Zoomy explanation of Zoom contact center is, if you've got a sales team, they're on the phones and they're taking calls in, or they're calling out, and they're a sort of sales team, customer service team, something along those lines, then that's where I believe Zoom Contact Center is a great product to put in for you. However, we all know that you never have the right number of people in an organization. You have too many, when there's nobody phoning in and you feel that you're wasting money on salaries because you've got staff there sitting there not taking any calls. And then you get a busy period and you now feel that you've not got enough staff because there are so many calls coming in, you can't handle it. I expect this is the sort of thing that our friend Mike has trouble with every time there's a new product release or a new thing that he sends out to his dealers, and they all decide to ring up the next morning with all their questions, and he gets overloaded as well. So to help Mike and to help everybody else, we can use some AI. And that's the point. I need some help by Sean. So what do we do, Sean? How do we take our contact center sales team, like the ones Mike's got, and use AI to sort of fill in the gaps between the busy periods and the quiet periods and help out?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of ways, and it really starts with, I always like to start of like, what's the outcome the customer's trying to drive? It's one of the first questions that a PAE will pose to an account team when they loop us in with a customer. I'll give you an example of in a customer was working with last week. They were essentially, they had a problem where their contact center, let's say their teams, like their physical, like human-led teams, were being leveraged on one end for the opportunity of actually driving sales and creating new opportunities, but they were kind of a double task force where they were also dealing with a lot of just small, invoicing questions, procurement needs, and all of these tasks that, when we created like our T chart of where they're driving value with that team and where that team is experiencing a time suck, we found a lot of that time suck was self-service. It really should be, help desk or something of that nature. And that's where there was an opportunity to actually stand up a virtual agent. And so this is a little bit of a callback to earlier, like I told you about the virtual agent use case of a AI receptionist. And that's a great way to, create an entry point, a front end to your business over phone that can perform some self-service. For contact center flows, in a nutshell, you can have an AI receptionist pass back to a more specialized virtual agent who perhaps you've integrated with your invoicing system, and it has the ability to pull up customer invoices and provide them answers to those questions that they're seeking. And John, I see you have a question.
Okay, so I'm supposed to be a developer and I'm supposed to be really good at code, but you just said to me that the AI agent could talk to the accounting system to get some data out of it. Okay, that's just like another level of oh my godish, really. I'm assuming the same thing is with your contact management system, your CRM. If the customer says they are Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so, you're saying the AI could possibly even query your CRM and bring out other details to, I don't know, confirm their address if you've got to send them something and things like that?
John, I wish that everyone who's using any virtual agent platform would explore the depth of which a virtual agent can be equipped to deliver value. So technically, in my AI receptionist webinar, for example, I simply created a receptionist that can route calls and could answer questions utilizing an FAQ page from a website. So that's the extent of it. But what I didn't do in that session, due to time constraints, and I wanted to get folks started with some early wins, is you can integrate all kinds of tools. I mean, there's, of course, and, almost really no limit, but there's marketplace integrations that Zoom has in place with, tools like ServiceNow, like Salesforce, like your CRM, like you mentioned earlier, where yes, we can now create a skill for that agent to actually, when you call in and you provide your first, last name, phone number, we can confirm which contact record you are calling in from. And now we can help you with your account information, whatever the case may be. all of that is possible, and we can go further and further. I mean, you can equip it to be able to open up a ticket. You can equip it to be able to escalate to another team. It's all about how much we configure in those integrations, and then what skills are we giving the agent to be able to perform repeatable, reliable motions with customers, so that we don't have to worry about, did the agent get it right? It's more so, uh, you know, is this the extent of how much we want to give this agent access to be able to build and deliver? So yeah, my answer to your question is like, if I could wish one customers could unlock one item beyond just agent guidance and call routing, is really think about what tooling you can equip your agent with to not just make it better, but make it more valuable to your customers, make it more valuable to your customer facing teams, so that it's offloading that repetitive self-service tasking, and they're spending more time on high value interactions. uh, that rabbit hole can go really deep. And my number one recommendation to every customer that's just starting with virtual agents is get your version 1 out there. As simple as it may be, you don't need to start with too much complexity, because what you're going to find is, through analytics, which you get with your ZCX analytics with virtual agent, you're going to be told the story of where you need to take this thing further, because you're going to be able to quickly identify, where does the virtual agent hit a wall with the customer? Does the customer start asking for invoicing and you just don't have it equipped for that? And so you're seeing these invoicing queries come in, but there's nowhere to go beyond start. Okay, well, now let's integrate it with your invoicing system. Let's understand what skill sets we want to equip it with to leverage that system, and where you want your stops to be, so that it doesn't go past where you'd want an actual person to step in. These are all possible, but it's all about getting that version 1 out there. So my advice is always start simple, build complexity over time, reiterate, and treat this thing like a member of your staff. On day 1, you aren't expected to do the 1,000 things you're doing on day 100. You have a 90-day ramp. Well, treat your virtual agents the same way. Get them started, have them provide that early value with some deflection and self-service early on, evolve it so that it can take on more complex tasks later.
I work in the smaller business end of the market. We work with some corporates now and again, but most of my business is with the smaller groups of people, content creators like myself. They all need to do sales. I think this is a good example of one of those products that, yeah, it's obvious, sort of obvious to us, that a corporate with a large call center is going to want to start investing in this sort of technology, which gets rid of the simple tasks, allows them to concentrate on the more valuable tasks, allows them to put more time into the most valuable customers. The old 80-20 rule here, really. But this sounds like something that any business of any size could really make use of. In fact, in a way, if there's only 3 or 4 of you in the organization and you bring out a new product, to have a AI tool backing you up, that sounds like you've got, I don't know how many, but you've got an army of potential bots who are going to work alongside you and help fix all your problems when it gets really busy. And for those people running Zoom events who get all the silly questions about how do I get there, and I've got special dietary needs and all those sort of things, it's got to work for them just as much as it's going to work for a sales organization. I'm looking at, because I can see him, but you guys can't. I'm keeping an eye on Mike, trying to see when his aha moment is for this, because as he runs a distributor organization and he's talking to dealers and hanging out with customers' needs and products coming from all around the world, this sounds like a great fun project for Mike to play with and teach his AI all those little questions that people ask that he doesn't really want to have somebody sitting on the desk waiting for that question 8 hours a day when they only get busy for 1 hour. Mike, Hi, we found
Hi.
another use for you. You know, we're helping you a lot
Did.
here. You know, we'll have to start charging you for turning up to all these things. We taught you
Well,
about how your phone changed the world, and now look what we've got here.
I know. It's very, very intriguing. And again, Sean, I've mentioned this in previous shows as well, even with Elliot as well, that even in the last 6 months, Zoom Phone has changed so much in regard to their different functionality and the new added features. So yes, we have recently, we were talking to Zoom to actually convert ourselves over to actually being on Zoom Phone. But unfortunately, there was at the time during the negotiation process, there was a few features that we really relied on that were still not available in Zoom Phone. But it's not that because of the fact that those features are now available. Let me say it that way. It's taking me to a different thought now of what we've gotten ourselves into, and now figuring out ways to get ourselves to migrate over. And chances are we would probably do more of what you are talking about related to the AI portion, because a lot of the VoIP service that we're still currently getting is not based on AI. They're still more based on the traditional VoIP or SIP protocol type functionality.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of opportunities to, add a layer of AI to all kinds of workflows. I mean, there's web chat, right, which is traditionally rules based, and then there's phone, which is voice, which is also rules based. Adding a layer of AI, I like to think of it as like this. The starting point is, how do you make it more conversational, and then after that, how do you expand the capabilities? So making it more conversational, something as simple as just adding call routing capabilities over voice and FAQs, right? Like some frequently asked questions. Taking it to the next level, adding in those integrations, and kind of unlocking the realm of possibilities, which is a fun journey to go on. I've gotten to watch a lot of customers go on it. So, Mike, I'd be stoked to see your journey.
Yeah, it's an interesting journey because of the fact that we are a distribution company, so our dealers will call into our main system, and then of course we're not doing as simple of press 1 for sales, press 2 for tech support, we're not doing something as simple as that. But again, I could see where it would be more of again, our different. Just to give you a quick example of what we do, basically we've got sales teams spread across Canada because, again, of us being so geographically big. So again, I've got sales reps in individual locations and such. So dealers for certain provinces will deal with one salesperson. So again, we've got that broken out. So again, we could automatically quiz them when they come on the phone going, oh, where are you based? So we could, if you're based in this province, we automatically put you over here already. That would be better for yours using Zoom Phone, where right now we don't have that. It's more of, but it not necessarily as bad as put in your extension for the salesperson. It's not going that old school. But we could, they could, that is still there. That's way in the, that's the simplicity part of it. But again, I know that even with Zoom Phone system too, you could actually do that as well. So, but when it comes to I could see it a lot more where we'll get them into the right areas, especially if they're still unfamiliar with our system, the way to contact our sales staff and our tech support staff and such, so that it gives them a lot more flexibility. We're not B2C, we're B2B. So that's where we're different in that regard. So that just gives you a quick little example of, we have dealers that will call into our sales queue per se, but it's not really sales queue. It's sales phone number, and that sales phone number then routes them properly to their specific location. But again, with AI, we could already pre-quiz them that, oh, yeah, you're coming in from Ontario. You should be going to XYZ person. And now it actually, it automatically didn't even tell you who that person was, but it automatically is now throwing you over to that person because they're the right person, as an example.
Mike, what you're describing is what we call when we work with customers qualification and intake. So that's where virtual agents, either for your use case specifically, it'd be qualification. Before we get this customer on the phone with a person, we want to sound like we know everything we need to get them started, which starts with getting them to the right team. So in your case, routing them to the right province, which can be fairly simple. Like you could do it technically, you could just do that via, dial up call routing, right? One for, Ontario, two for, whatever the case may be. But you can take it a step further and figure out, what specialized, issue are they dealing with? What's their challenge? And if you ever do go this route, and by the way, if you do this for Zoom virtual agents or any other platform, this is one of my recommendations. So we took a look at customers who set up virtual agents, and what we found is the prompt for the customer to begin interacting with the agent when you're on the phone. So when John and I were talking about the grocery store example, traditionally you're told, describe how I can help you today, right? And we found this one simple add to that prompt for the virtual agent before they pass it to the speaker to answer the question, is if you add in at the beginning, in a few words, tell me about how I can help you today. And in just adding, tell me in a few words, we found that we got richer responses. We got more in-depth responses. Callers used more natural language versus just, what do people typically do with those voice agents, right? What do? They say bakery. They say finance, accounting, and they're waiting to get. So they're really just doing a vocal version of the dial, right? Like that's not helpful. That's not providing you value. But when you add in that natural language into how your voice agent interacts, what we found was really interesting. Like this actually encourages the user to interact more naturally and thus get way more value out of it, because now they're saying, well, I need a birthday cake on Tuesday and it's Friday afternoon, right? Like now the agent might have the ability to pull up what are wait times, what are turnaround times right now looking like for bringing in a cake on Tuesday. Do we have that possibility? Well, now maybe they have appointment booking set up as a skill and it's integrated with Zoom Scheduler, which, by the way, John, I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole, but you can do that too. We have an out-of-the-box Zoom Scheduler integration. Now they can book an appointment, and so on and so forth. So, Mike, my advice to you is if you do go down that route of exploring agentic AI for your call routing, to explore, how you're prompting your customer to interact by using, key phrases like, in a few words, tell me about how I can support you today. I know it sounds silly, but those little nuances, they make such a difference. And you'd be surprised how many customers I'm working with day in and day out on those small enhancements.
Yeah, and I can picture it already, and it would be something that I would work with the actuals, sales manager and our CEO to make sure that there was a proper, what would be our normal greeting that all the sales reps would normally do if they didn't have, an automated system. So that would be type of scenario where they're automatically greeted, and it's guaranteed that every sales rep doesn't have to say it now. It gets to the point of, when it finally gets to that sales rep, they've already been quizzed enough that the information gets down to the salesperson at that particular point, and then they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, it's me." And now we get to talk, and now we get to negotiate, and now we get, how many do you want? Da 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 da, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly. Or like, was working with a law firm that uses it for intake, right? So they're understanding like, what's the case here? Is there enough for us to, take this case on for our law firm? Like the agent does that for them and has the skill set to do all the intake form stuff. So number of ways, whether it's services, sales, billing, whatever the case may be, there's so much to leverage agents for and empower the teams, the real people behind those teams, with more self-service and frankly more high value interactions. So, yeah.
I've just been thinking about the sort of calls I do. Usually hosting companies. That's quite often the most used. Yeah, that's the most used function I have that I will ring up. I think I've got 4 hosting companies working for me at the moment because none of them do exactly what you want. So I've got 4. But if I have a technical question, and it's a really technical question, usually mine are either really obvious and silly or they're the extreme, never in between. If it is a really technical question, I might have to go through 3 levels of staff explaining the same question for them to say, "Oh, don't understand that. I'll put you up to the next level." Whereas if there was an AI that took the question in the first place, it would be able to identify the right person in the organization to answer that question. And I would get an answer a lot quicker. And it would cost them a lot less money in staff who talk to me for no reason whatsoever. And probably the person that I get to at the end will find me less frustrated because I've gone through 3 of their colleagues to get to them. Sign me up. I think that's all I can say. I suppose the problem I have with a lot of people I deal with is when they say AI, they think of those GPT things they can get on their phone or they can get on their computers, and they can give it a question like, I want to do a Facebook ad, and it'll come back with a generic suggestion about what a Facebook ad should look like with little context. I mean, they are trying to smuggle in a bit of context about you, but they're not really. They're just having a small memory of facts about what you said recently. This is not just another level, Sean. This is like an enormous jump level, isn't it? There's a big difference between an AI, which you have a conversation with on some app, and it probably knows who you are and your company and a couple of other things about you, but everything else it's going to assume generic. And then the other extreme is an AI agent that you've trained that's actually not just understanding your business, but is connected to your business because it can put calls through to people. It can look up data. It can save data. Unlike a member of staff who you ask them what their day was like and they'll give you a summary of the 3 worst things that happened and you go, okay, well, we need to update that. An AI agent's going to give a list of everything it did, and you're going to get much deeper and much more interesting analytics for what you need to add next. It's such a big jump that you're right. It's probably a lot of people have got to have a mindset shift to see what's possible and therefore give them something simple to get them going. And then they'll get excited about that. And then they'll start asking questions about, we've got this problem with this product range. Nobody ever knows which model they need. How do we get that to be understood by the AI so the AI can put through to the right team for the right product version? That's where we're going, isn't it? I mean, this is just mind blown, really.
In most cases, customers that I've worked with who've deployed virtual agents, I find the virtual agent is having as many or more interactions than the rest of the contact center flow team, right? So it's oftentimes the entry point. So think about that, high volume. But the virtual agent, what it's going to help you do, and you said it's a bit of a mindset shift, managing virtual agents, is if you want it to deliver a great QBR for you, it will. You're going to go to ZCX Analytics, you're going to go to Query Insights, you're going to take that report and you're going to change the date range to the last 3 months. You've just gotten yourself the best QBR you could get out of a member of your agentic staff, because it's going to tell you, hey, John, here are all the queries that we received. You can export that and analyze that data however you wish. And it might be hundreds or thousands of queries over the last 3 months. The volume can become really massive depending on what kind of customer we're working with. And what it'll deliver, whether it's 100 interactions over the last 3 months or whether it's 10,000, is it will let you know where to take it next. So you don't have to spend time asking the right questions or engaging at the right moment of truth or knowing what to look for. It's collecting that and able to provide it to you, the customer experience leader who needs to make decisions about how do we improve our customer experience. Well, we're getting a lot of questions about, you know, uh, birthday cakes on a Tuesday, or whatever the case may be for your business. It's time we actually do something about it. And what easier way to start than with the agent itself? Well, we can equip the agent with the knowledge it needs, or we can give the agent a skill to be able to deliver that to the customer, whatever it might be. It'll also help you understand, where do we need to improve our business? Where are we missing out on potential revenue? Because we aren't providing those services. And how do we know that customers are asking us for something that we don't provide today? How do we know that? We can rely on reps to tell us, and we can also rely on the AI agent to tell us in the data. And so that is my number one. If you're using virtual agents today, whether it's Zoom or any other platform, take a look at that analytics data and see, can you see the query insights? What's the story that's being told? I think a lot of folks would be amazed at how much it tells them they need to be doing versus versus the inverse. Looking out and asking the right questions and relying on that level of expertise that does a lot of the heavy lifting for you.
Okay. Risking my brain exploding a third time, I've not really looked into this product called Zoom Revenue Accelerator. It sounds really sexy. Could you give us a sort of overview of what it is and how it works with the world of Zoom AI?
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, that is not the first time I've heard Revenue Accelerator described that way. That's well, okay. So to start, just to think about it, on one end of the spectrum, you have where your customer interfaces, where you interact directly with your customers, or your customers interact directly with your business on a self-service front. That's Zoom Virtual Agent. Revenue Accelerator is on the other end of the spectrum of business services. It's where customer intelligence takes place. That primarily lives in the interactions that your teams are having with your customers. And specifically for Zoom Revenue Accelerator, we're primarily concerned with the go-to-market teams, the teams that are out there to drive the revenue for the business. So where are those conversations taking place? Where they're taking place in phone calls, they're taking place in meetings, they're taking place sometimes actually over text. Oh, and by the way, I know it's 2026, but a lot of those conversations still take place in person. And so what Zoom Revenue Accelerator does is, no matter which one of those settings you choose, we're adding a layer of AI intelligence that specializes in revenue driving teams. And it helps you unlock a lot of AI workflows for your business that historically have been high value, high effort. And now they become high value, low effort, and introduce an opportunity to be really strategic and purposeful. For example, sales pitches through ZRA, they're automatically graded based on a scoring criteria that you can set up in 5 minutes, and feedback is provided to a rep automatically after they end the call with a prospect. When they get off their call, their sales pitch is automatically graded, and they're told upfront where they delivered. Here's an example of where you did well, and then here's where you need to improve. Oh, and by the way, their sales manager has a team level report, so they could see all their sales reps that report to them and see how are they performing across their scorecards in aggregate over the last month. It also does a ton of other things. I mean, we can be automatically notified when conversations about competitors are taking place. What was the specific context? Your meeting follow-up workflow is automatically prepared for you. You just hit send after a quick review. and so on and so forth. The meeting analysis too. I know there's meeting summaries. ZRA meeting analysis is specialized for those go-to-market teams. It can be customized too for a business. So we can create templates that are personalized for a specific business, so that all of the meeting analysis is analyzed specifically against the types of conversations your business is having. Whether I've worked with like a pest control business that utilizes it. I've also worked with like your traditional SaaS customers, whatever the case may be. So that's Revenue Accelerator in a nutshell. It's basically taking the conversations like the ones we're having here in Zoom meetings and adding a layer of conversation intelligence specifically for revenue teams that lets them unlock all kinds of AI workflows.
Yeah, okay. My brain just blew up for a third time. This is beyond cool. I think we'll be turning them into bots and putting them into breakout rooms at the end of our webinars, and we won't let people disconnect until Zoom Revenue Accelerator has decided which product they should have purchased. This is absolutely mind-blowing. As Mike said earlier, the amount of things that Zoom has taken to the next level in the last couple of years is frightening, absolutely frightening. All the products that we've been involved in, I think they have just been transformed in the last 18 months, 2 years. And I have to admit that every time the boss comes out and says we're an AI first organization, I go, what does that mean? Well, I'm now starting to see what it does mean. It means that if you do something more than once, maybe, just maybe, AI could have helped you do it just the once and give you a process that then scales up that particular question. There are companies I know who design sales, I don't know what you'd call it, sales and marketing schemes and processes. And they specifically make them channel all of their customers into a particular bucket so that they don't get overwhelmed with the response. And that usually means go to Zoom scheduler and schedule a date with somebody. It may be, let's put them all into a big webinar. We like webinars, Mike, don't we? So let's put all our leads into a webinar so that we can deal with them there. Or it may be a cop-out for many organizations, which is, just give them a 7-day trial and let them play with it themselves. All of those processes leave you with a hole, maybe many holes, where customers are going to come across something. There's nobody there to help them. They're going to fall by the wayside. They're going to cancel the trial. They're going to disconnect from the webinar. They're not going to take part. Which is a shame, because Zoom's given us all these fantastic tools that can allow those random, sometimes silly, sometimes groundbreaking questions to be answered in a way that keeps the customer involved and gives them a chance to move further down the system. Sean, I'm jealous. You've got a really cool job. Let's be honest. You've got a really cool job.
I love what I do. I love what I do. One of the, if I'd say the biggest challenge of it though is, there's a lot being thrown at purchasers of software in the year 2026. And what I mean by a lot is everyone is rolling out AI features, use cases, AI native products. And I think the tough thing to figure out isn't necessarily how to start using them. It's how deep does that rabbit hole go for me driving value? Like, am I just saving time? Is that my ROI? And what we find a lot of the times is like, yeah, for those kind of foundational, simplistic products, like there's a million products out there that'll save you some time. But how I can actually make this a operationalized part of my business and something that we can rely on 100% of the time and drive value beyond just time savings, talking about time to value for our customers, talking about increasing our revenue pipeline, talking about uh, everything, self-service, deflection, whatever it may be. That's what product adoption experts are there to set out is we're going to go a layer deeper. So it's a cool job. I think the big challenge is making sure we help guide customers further in on the journey from where we start at when we meet with them. And yeah, I'm proud to share, like, typically in 1 or 2 engagements, we're able to deliver on a customer's outcome being driven. And that seems like kind of a small, milestone to achieve. But if you think about it, right now on your desktop, how many tools in your applications folder have an AI feature? And of those AI features, how many of them have you leveraged? And of those, how many can you say it provided me true value? That's what our job is, to make sure customers are always answering that question with Zoom's AI.
I get bombarded it's my own fault because I probably subscribe to them all, but 4 or 5 emails a day from people who have an AI tool that does this or that or something else. If it's a marketing tool, it's an AI tool that helps your marketing do exactly what the company who designed it think you should do for marketing. That's what it does. It's like all these people that tell you that they have the ultimate way of doing webinars, for instance. So they would tell you they've got exactly how Lord Zoom Live should do its webinar. But it's based on the fact that they've got a webinar system that works for them. It's not for you. It's a product that works for them. And they are now going to give that product to you because it works for them. But that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is a product that does a particular task, but it does it for you because it's based on your data. It's about you. It's not about the person who sold it to you. It's not a script that does something. It's not a set of commands that makes a process work. It's an intelligence. It's a proper intelligence. This is what AI was supposed to be. It's not going to do everything. AI is never going to be that clever. Not in my lifetime. I don't care what the people that want the share price to go up think. It's not that clever. It can never be that clever. But what it can do is if you tell it about your business, you give it data, and I have personally, I'll have to give more to Zoom soon. I have folders of markdown files which explain how we do Lord Zoom Live, what we do for Lord Zoom Live, how I managed to get the cartoons to look almost the same style for the last 6 months without AI deciding to change the rules for me. I have outlines of AI code. And when I've got my developer's hat on and I'm developing software, every hour when I'm working through, almost on the hour, but the idea is it's on the hour, I will say to the AI that's helping me write my code, that's partnering with me to write my code, I will tell it to make a summary or to update the summary of what we've just done. So if I come back to it in 6 months' time and I say, I want to have a look at the Solo app, it can go to the files and it knows exactly what the context is. It knows exactly what we were talking about because we've documented it every stage. And it works because I've gone to the app. Actually, I think I did it on Saturday. And I said to the app, here's a product here. I want to take these 2 features out of this product and I want to generate a whole new product. And it was able to look at what we'd done together, and it was able to look at the libraries and the functions that we'd added together. take them out and put them into a whole new Zoom app. This is AI that is your AI. It might be run by Zoom, but it's run for you on your data. It is such a mindset shift. And it frightens me that, like I said when I started this short speech, that I get 4 or 5 emails every day from different people, probably got a dozen, 15 of them, all supposedly gurus. I say supposedly gurus because I think what we've shown here, with great support of Sean today, is that AIs that go through a process to make something happen are really cool. I mean, they're useful. They perform a function. But that's all they do. They just perform a function. What we're showing here is that AI can be a lot more clever if you give it the context into where it needs to be clever. And you can teach it from all your business information, and then it remembers everything it does, and it gives you more data out the other end that you can then feed back into the beginning and get better and better. Now, I know that there's a lot of teenagers out there who are not getting jobs because nobody's hiring them at the moment. And I know a lot of people are going to say it's AI's fault for doing all these functions and taking their jobs away. But quite frankly, I would have thought that if you hired an employee and then gave them this tool, they would probably be a very valuable employee because they could learn about your business. And as they learn, they could help the AI learn. There are lots of really technically savvy kids out there. Why not give them a job to teach AI so that you can have that feature in your business? Because they're going to be a lot better at it than you are. And the fact that they don't know anything means that they're a perfect person to work with the AI, because from day one, it won't know anything either. I think I've just created a new class of employees inspired by Zoom AI. Before we finish and bringing us back down to earth, Sean, is there anything you'd like to just put in at the end? Apart from the fact that John's dreams are in John's head, and it's up to John to make them work.
Yeah, if anyone is interested out there in learning more about Zoom Revenue Accelerator, which we talked a little bit about today, I have an entire session on how to drive real value with Revenue Accelerator. And I think it's valuable even for those who don't use Revenue Accelerator. Maybe they use another conversation intelligence platform. Would love to drop a link to that webinar in the chat. It's happening next Thursday. If you register, you'll get a recording. Follow me on LinkedIn as well. I share a lot of insights in what we're seeing with conversation intelligence and virtual agents as well. But other than that, John, Mike, I just want to thank you both for being incredible community champions and, having me on your show. This is a lot of fun. I'd love to come back.
You know that's a dangerous thing to say at Lord Zoom Live, because the last 2 people that said that are now turn up once a month. So we would love to have you on. I'm doing a lot with AI. And this is really, really exciting stuff. Honestly, I don't want to sound like I'm an addict, but I just love the way Zoom just adds value to its product all the time. And this is a really cool thing now. When AI first came along and it could just summarize meetings and things like that, I was, yeah, okay, fine. I could have taken those meeting transcripts and put them into any product, and an AI could have analyzed them. That was expected. That was the way most software companies are going. That's fine. That's good. But what we've got now is we've got Zoom now giving us AI tools where the expertise and the knowledge of the business can now fuel the AI. And I think that's really cool. And the only question I have now is Mike's now wondering how the heck we're going to finish the show, because I've got it on a computer over there being shared. And we'll try and play out. But Sean, thank you very much. We will take you up on your offer to come back again. I think that goes without saying that we will ask you to come back, because we've got some AI. I've been working with my AI tool, and we've got some AI things that we'd like to go through. And it would be great to have you on again. So thank you, Sean. Thank you to all those listening and watching, and those on repeat. If you haven't subscribed, we'll make sure that the link to Sean's event is put in the YouTube description notes as well, so that in fact Mike may have done it already. I don't know. He's that hot on the ball.
Yeah,
And
our YouTube audience already has access to that link.
I see they know. They've got it quicker than I have. So I leave you with Mike to do the goodbyes, and while I run over to my other computer and try and get the closing song to play out for him at the relevant time. But for this Lord Zoom Live, thank you very much. See you again very soon on any of the shows. See you on Friday. We've got a really weird one on Friday. And again, back next Tuesday. Every Tuesday. Thank you very much.
All right. As John goes to work on our closing theme, don't forget, everyone, to join us next week and for another Lord Zoom Live. And I want to thank Sean, of course, for joining us this week. It was great to have him, and we look forward to having more Zoomies here every Tuesday on Lord Zoom Live. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to let YouTube know as well. Of course, we relay our numbers to Zoom to let them know as well how well that our content is loved by our Lord Zoom Live community. And don't forget, we're here every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific, and check your local time zones for the equivalent of those actual times themselves. And I look forward to seeing you everyone next week for another Lord Zoom Live. Well, you'll never know who we might have on our show. All righty, John, how are we doing over there? All right. See everyone next week for Lord Zoom Live. Take care.
Every week we open wide the virtual stage where ideas spark and wisdom fills the page. From the UK to the land of maple trees, John and Mike bring clarity with ease. We're building meetings, webinars with might, helping you shine your message, taking flight. Whether you're new or you've done this before, Lord Zoom Live will help you do much more. We're building meetings, webinars with might, helping you shine your message, taking flight. Whether you're new or you've done this before, Lord Zoom Live will help you do much more. Thank you for joining us, we're glad you're here. Together we grow, it's loud